Okay, for the 17th of February 2026, court about to be in session. Members of the general public, witnesses, attendees, thank you. For the situation that occurred at Canterbury Aldi on the 10th of February 2026, plaintiff present. Court administrator will proceed. So, incident occurred approximately 12:10 p.m. on 10th of February 2026. One adult male complained of interference, assault, interaction from worker from Aldi of Pakistan origin. He exclaimed loudly back to Pakistan Aldi worker, exclaiming that generation of yesterday, that today's generation have no manners, are rude, are cheeky, insubordinate, they talk back. One bright-minded individual in the other aisle, going by the name of Cheryl, witnessed this by ear with her acute, sharp observational skills, and heard in its entirety what happened to customer Cheryl, who approached and confronted said individual who had interfered with other customers. Other customer at this point had exited the store, and their whereabouts was unknown, likely in the parking lot of Aldi. So, witness one, present yourself to the stand, please. What is your significance? What is your significance in the store? Oh, I'm the boss. What do you do? I organise things around the store. That's enough. On this occasion, when this incident occurred on the 10th of February 2026, what was your reaction and involvement in this? I was in the back room. Also, the worker who interfered with the customer directly confessed what he'd done to the other customer. Where were you at this point? Did you hear it? I heard something. I didn't think it was anything. I didn't think it was anything serious. I kept doing what I was doing. Did you not at any point, soon after you heard the customer exclaiming loudly, did you not think to immediately investigate the situation by going directly over to the aisle and seeing for yourself what had occurred? No, not really. You're excused. Will the next witness please approach the stand and state yourself? I work at Aldi. I'm a bit, I see things but don't really take much notice of them. And this particular incident occurred. What can you please relate to me what happened directly afterwards? Well, this weird-looking person came up to me in the store, a customer, and what makes you think they were weird? Wearing weird fancy pants. Oh, maybe you should try wearing weird fancy pants sometimes. And then when another person comes to wear weird fancy pants, you won't observe them as being weird fancy pants, but maybe you'll feel liberated. Anyway, continue please. Said person stated to me, in fact, I'm a bit absent-minded. I can't really remember what they said. They said some things that I didn't really think that mattered. And excused. Will the brilliant-minded, very acute, observational, reliable witness known as Cheryl, please approach the stand. So, Cheryl, you seem apt and bright. You seem like you're fully aware. Please describe to me the situation at hand and what you observed, experienced. I was in the middle aisle, and all of a sudden I heard, "Get your bloody hands off me! Get your dirty hands off me! You younger generation, you have no clue. You have not been disciplined as you were growing up. You're ill-mannered, rude, cheeky, insubordinate, and don't you bloody touch me again. I'm sick of this store." And then the man turned the corner. I saw him in view. I eyed him as I hadn't yet quite figured out what had occurred. He eyed me, looked away from me, headed toward the front of the store, exclaimed further, slammed his basket down at the cashier, and said, explained quite loudly, "The younger generation have no clue and are very ill-mannered, and you can all fuck off." And then he left the store. At this point, I went over to the aisle, and at this point I decided I didn't need to say hello or sort of present myself. I just said, "What happened?" And the Pakistani worker said, "Oh, I pushed him out of the way." I said, "Did you touch him? Did you touch him? Did you touch the customer?" He said, "No, I did not touch the customer. I told you I did not." I said, "You just said that I pushed him out of the way. I pushed him out of the way." And he said, "I did not tell you that. I did not push, I did not touch, I did not touch him." Anyway, this went on for approximately 20 seconds where he said, I also said, "Move out of the way, move out of the way, I'm working, move out of the way." At this point, the worker, he became cheeky to me, spoke back to me, and was ill-mannered toward me. And I said, "You cannot speak that way to a customer. You have to be nice to the customers." At this point, he said, "Oh, whatever, I'm working." And I raised my voice and said, "Don't you talk that way to me." And then there was a bit of back and forth for approximately 10 seconds after that, at which point I held my ground for another 5 seconds, looking directly at him, and then I walked away casually yet sternly. At this point, I went back to near at the front of the store where the second in charge was, not the totally bright guy, a bit behind the 8 ball, not totally bright, and Caucasian guy of about 30 years of age. And he didn't ask me what happened. He stood next to me with a not so bright look on his face, like, should I go over to the scene of the crime and investigate immediately, or should I just stay here and be lax and like a bit of a zombie? He chose the latter. Magistrate steps in. So far, the story you're telling me is quite compelling. Please continue. I know it just took place over there. Oh, really? I can present the facts to you of exactly what took place. I heard it. I heard everything, and I saw the man. And your guy, your worker, is in the wrong, and the customer is in the right. At this point, the second in charge, he twitched his face at me as if he wasn't really comprehending what I was saying. I said, "I will now present the facts to you. I'm going to present the facts to you of what I heard." He twitched his whole face at me. Magistrate steps in. "I'm quite enjoying the way you're relating this story. It's informative. Please continue." And I said, what happened was, I was standing just there when I heard the customer, who was about 60 years of age, exclaim the following of what I just related about how the younger generation were very ill-mannered, not brought up right, rude, talked back, insubordinate, and had no clue. At this point, the second in charge, he twitched his face at me again, rolled his eyes at me, and I said, well, I've just presented these facts to you, so your guy's in the wrong. Magistrate steps in. Oh, right, I see what's going on here. Second in charge, why did you just not go straight over to the scene of the crime? And it seems like he confessed himself straight up. I think what we're going to do here is this. Cheryl, good observant one. You seem to know what's going on here. You observed, you're the best witness we have here. The workers of Aldi who were present, being the main boss and the second in charge, did not react aptly or in a appropriate, fast enough way so as to get the facts of what happened and be able to do certain actions afterwards that would prevent that type of thing from happening, but etiquette thing from happening again. And so Cheryl, well, yes, magistrate, yes, oh, please continue. I'm in great anticipation of your next sentence, your next words. I'm excited about them greatly. I feel like there might be some deeper involvement for me here. Well, Cheryl, it goes a bit like this. What do you think should happen now? I think that apart from the Pakistani worker guy receiving a slap on the wrist, I think a day in a dark room, burning a lamp, a pen and a paper, and he should write down his thoughts on it, why he was wrong, how he could improve himself, what he's not going to do again, and also have an immigration officer come in and say, if you don't get this essay right, and I think get him to write out his thoughts on the subject, get him to write out where he went wrong, what he could do better, and get him to do a first draft, a second draft. That way, that it gets it's into his brain, and he'll understand it'll be in his brain. Magistrate, Cheryl, that is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I just think pen to paper would make his brain work a bit, and so I think today's verdict will be that said Pakistani worker at Aldi must write out a 1,000-word essay. At the conclusion of this, he will have adjusted his attitude that benefit society and people interaction, that he will no longer consider inappropriately interacting with the customer, or anyone for that matter, inside of Aldi or outside of Aldi. These are today's proceedings. Thank you, Cheryl, for your very, very important input. We couldn't have done it without you. Oh, I'm just glad to help, Your Honour. I'm just glad to help in any way. I observe everything. I see mostly everything. Some things I don't see, but most things I do. And you've been extraordinarily helpful, Cheryl. So these proceedings have come to a conclusion now, and today's court is adjourned.